Hey guys, welcome to another video brought to you by Total Control Traders. Now before we get into it, there's just one note to make, and that is congrats to iTrade for Chanel making new all-time highs in her account, achieving her yearly goal, and it's only beginning of February. That's amazing. Glad to hear that, and I'm definitely not the one to take all the credit because she has been trading penny stocks on her own accord, and with the way the market is right now, it's definitely a good time to be trading penny stocks. The smaller caps, well, I don't know about penny stocks, but smaller caps in general, their movements have been so much better than the general average. So something to keep in mind if you are ever interested in smaller tickers, penny stocks, or small caps. You can always reach out to iTrade for Chanel. Might open up a channel just for her trades. Seems like she's doing pretty well in it. Regardless, congrats on your reaching your yearly goal. 2021. It's gonna be a blast. All right, let's get into it. First one, SPX. So today, for those of you that watched the pre-market video, we anticipated a pullback because we did hit that one-to-one extension target of 39.27. We passed it by a little bit in the pre-market. Then we saw a strong rejection. It was you can't really call this a resistance, so it wouldn't be a breakout fake out, but it was a strong rejection. Then from there, we had big pullback. And if we're looking at the longer time frames, we bounced just from under this trend line of the previous wedge. And this is why I have both trend lines drawn, because you can see both of them working. Right, the inner trend line, or the higher one of the lower trend line, you can see rejections and support right here too. Whereas the lower one of the lower trend line, you can see support here, breakout fake out, then resistance here. So both lines work, and obviously today the lower one came into play. From there we saw what was notable was this bull volume. It's kind of hard to see, but let's go like this. You can see this notable bull volume, and also towards 150 right before the close of the market, we saw increasing bull volume as well. For the market to have a bull volume such as this one, something's going on with my keyboard. A bull volume such as this one at a time of 8:45, that is notable. And after seeing this, I had re-picked up most of my positions, majority of my positions, because if you're looking at the daily, even though we did not touch the daily 8 yet, but the bounce from this trend line has me thinking further bullish. Ultimately, as we discussed this morning, the target that we're looking at is 40.90, which coincides in between this last lower low to the higher high to the higher low, as well as this lower high to the higher high to the lower low. So with them coinciding, I am looking at near 4100 on SPX. Overall, long-term wise, market is still looking bullish. Right now, we are seeing a pause, which is understandable. We did run for 6 days straight. On the 4-hour, we lost the 4-hour 8 for the first time since last Wednesday. This was a slight loss, then we got bought up right away. So remember, Wednesdays, redness day. And we saw that today. Potentially after hours, we might be rejecting off of the 4-hour 8 again. So keep an eye on it. Overall, bearish on the short term, bullish on the long term. All right, next, NAS. Similar action. Nothing very notable. Did bounce from under the trend line as well. Held the trend line, held the previous all-time high resistance, 13,567.2. If you look at NAS, this was actually a perfect rejection. on the 4-hour, wicked over it, never closed over it, with quadruple rejections. So this made sense, and we were watching that as well back was it Tuesday? So yesterday we were watching that 1-to-1 extension. It was a perfect rejection from it. On the NAS, however, it's even more noticeable that if you look at this bull volume at the same time, 845, this was a very notable bull volume, especially comparing to the volume since opening. Bear volume were nothing comparing to this one. So this candlestick alone gives me confidence for bull plays. However, I did roll most of my February 19th call out a month. Sold most of them this morning before the drop. Yeah, the drop. So it came up. If you could zoom into even shorter time frame, this might have been a bear divergence. Let's take a look. Yeah, so this was a bear. No, it wasn't. Regardless, it's we started dropping right away when the market opened. Then we went back up, but started seeing resistance. And this is around this area is where I exited most of my February 19th call. Then from there, rolled it out towards the end of the day. So thank goodness, had my homework done. Make sure you do your homework on days like this. On the pullback, if you exited up here, your next action that you should be looking at doing is getting prepared and for that entry, re-entry. All right, and next is Dow. Oh, I didn't draw a 1-to-1 extension yet. Let's take a look. Might have been the same thing. Wow, look at that. Dow of the three weakest. We only wicked on it, wicked from it. Remember, SPX closed. Yeah, SPX went over it. NAS went over it. Dow only wicked from it. So of the three, Dow is the weakest. Next, US dollars. Continued downward pressure gives further bull confidence. We can see a little bounce today, likely from the pullback of the market. Nothing significant. Trend line is broken by a far shot, by a long shot. So from here, potentially looking at a lower high. Then we'll be looking at further downward pressure. Form a head and shoulders potentially. Let's draw that. See if it works out. Something like that. All right, next, hottest tickers. First one, Bitcoin. Bull flag forming on the daily. As we anticipated from yesterday, we're going to want to see a slow grind down. ADMA is catching up. Overall, the chart is still bullish. Watch the daily 8 as your guide. Next, Tesla. Bouncing from that 800 mark. 2 cents away from 800. Broke through GP, broke through trend line. However, we finally potentially found that lower trend line. If you look at this, now it makes a whole lot of sense for this zone, for this trend line to work. So we'll be using that lower trend line as my guide right now. Now, interesting when you're trading Tesla, because we, as a community, we basically near nailed that bottom on the entry. However, through this bounce, because for me personally, I was trading options, March calls, the options actually started decaying. The move wasn't significant enough, so the options actually dropped in value, even though the price action was significantly up. I think it was like $18 at one point. 16. Okay, maybe $16. Yeah. Something to note, IV on Tesla is dropping, so keep an eye out for that if you are considering playing Tesla options. Next one, Amazon. I was looking for a hold on this key trend line, this inner trend line of the wedge, inner upper trend line of the wedge. We held it, and from here, overall, it's still looking weak. Resistance trend line is coming right up. That's this one from way up here. We can see multiple rejections on it. So it is coming up, and we are right at that one, just above that already 8. Nothing notable on the volume yet. Gonna have to watch for a divergence for this to fully play out. Next, NVIDIA. After exiting most of the February 19 calls, NVIDIA is now becoming my top play. It was number 3 before. Now it's my number 1 play. For a few reasons. One, we had an all-time high close. The chart is extremely strong. We rejected today. We got bought straight up. Never lost that already 8. That is a go signal. Towards the end of the day, we saw big bull volume coming in too. At the end of the day, we saw minimal bear volume pushing it down, but wick from the already 8 again, closing at new all-time high close. So gives me confidence. I like this play, especially remember, this play is a long play. Look how long we've had the sideways action for, since July. So we'll be looking at further follow through, and look at the daily volume. Big bull volume versus low bear volume. Loving the setup. Tomorrow, looking for that gap up. Then we'll get extended from the daily 8. Then from there, likely to begin consolidation. Next, NIO. A bit of a disappointment on NIO because today is the day for NIO Bull to have their follow through. But partially due to the market, we saw a pullback. Yeah. Ideally, you wanted to see, we did make a new high comparing to yesterday, but it got shot down. So tomorrow we're gonna want to see a bounce from the daily 8. We don't really want to come back to backtest this trend line again, because that will be a red flag for me. Now that we've dragged the daily 8 up away from it, I don't want to see a backtest of this trend line again. That will be a sign of bearish action, because this will essentially become a lower high followed by lower low. All right, next is Zoom. All right, we stalled in that area, went into that gap fill zone, started it, then we stalled. Towards the end of the day, no notable volume. Actually I missed this one. 12:15, there's a big volume that came in. So overall, the play is still looking good. Remember, first target looking at that gap fill up at 460, which is still 29 bucks away. So from here, gap fill into GP. Daily, not extended from a daily 8. Want to see that continuation. Ideally, you want to see strength versus the market, which we did today, and want to see that continuation tomorrow and the day after into the end of the week. End the week strong. Next, spot. That was it for hottest tickers. Next is the requested tickers. First one, spot. Spotify on the daily looks great. We have been forming a descending wedge, as we saw in the last 2 descending wedges. They were followed by huge bull movements. Not so much the last one, but it is still a big bull movement. From the break of the wedge, Okay, technical issues. Regardless, you can measure this yourself. You just measure the break of the wedge to the high, see what percentage it is. So watch for the break of the wedge. Judging by the last two, 1, 2, I imagine another rejection from this upper trend line into another test on the lower trend line or the lower support. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, your most ideal would be wait for a potential rejection. You do see that there is big bear volume that came in on earnings day with some decent bear volumes. So high chance of rejection on this trend line. Then watch for that ideal entry at 305.51. Next, KBNT. So as you guys can see, did a little bit of homework before coming onto the video today. This is an amazing setup. KBNT, KBNT. We held the previous all-time high wick of 526. Wicked under it, never closed under it. Only wicked under it once. Then from there, lost it by a cent on this one, January 20th. But we have came to the apex of the descending wedge and now seeing a break on slight increasing bull volume. Then from there, amazing follow through. Bull volumes coming in. This chart is looking great. We'll be looking at all-time highs going into the end of the week. Yeah, we'll be looking at all-time highs, ideally before the end of the week. Next, COTY. COTY Inc. So this chart is in a long-term downtrend channel. You can see rejection, multiple rejections, came close to it. Potential fourth rejection right now. Then from there, bottom, we have held once, came close, broke under. Overall, the chart is still weak. Look at this bear volume. The earnings was a negative 200%. Okay, so the last earnings before that on November 6th is the one that we started bumping up with. Again, market was bullish at that time too. How's the earnings before? Earnings before was negative 500. Wow. And before that was minus 6,000%. So overall chart is still bearish. You do not want to be playing this chart until there is a clear trend reversal. This kind of chart, I wouldn't recommend trying to catch the bottom, especially considering how we have been on a downward trend since May of 2016. Aside from that, I'm not seeing any confluence zones yet. So you want to try to find a clear level that you can play off of. This could be a key resistance zone, part of it 778. So watch for a reversal first. Wait for, this is potentially the higher low, but from here we want to make a higher high, then a higher low, then that higher low would be your entry. Right now it is still in a downward trend. Next one, CGC. Huge bull volume. Congrats, marijuana bulls. Congrats, marijuana bulls. And look at the rejection that we rejected off of today. Had this drawn out yesterday, day before, 56.60 is the upper zone of our resistance zone. And we rejected from 56.50, off by 10 cents. Clear rejection. This zone, imagine how many people are holding their bags from buying back here, back year and a half ago. So if we come to this zone, it's a given, especially given how far away we are from the 88. It's a given that there's going to be a lot of profit taking, as well as bag dumping, I guess, bag dumping, and extended from the 88. Huge bear volume. The volume is a mix of bulls and bears because there is wicks on both sides, but this is a reversal candle, spinning top candle on big bear volume, looking at further downside now. No FOMO. Do not FOMO on MJ. There is plenty of moves to come. There is going to be a lot of great opportunities on marijuana sectors, so they are back on top watch. Keep a close eye on marijuana and gambling, 2 sectors for 2021. That depends on your time frame. If you're looking at the end of the year, you should also consider airlines as well as hospitality due to the vaccine. So use that as the vaccine play. But top 2 return wise, I'd be looking at marijuana as well as gambling. Next, TLRY. Well, this didn't work out. So much for a bull flag. Just straight bulls, eh? Similar to CGC, but we can see it's a whole lot stronger. We closed at another 52-week high. High bear volume. Didn't even leave much of a gap behind due to the pullback from earlier today. So we are very far extended from 88. 1, 2, 3. Anticipation would be an inside bar tomorrow, maybe a gap up, followed by further profit taking. Marijuana sector overall, we have ran a lot. So we'll be anticipating some sort of downside. We did CGC already, VFF. The strongest. No, just as strong as TLRY. In the sense of all-time highs, the strongest of the 3. We are in all-time high closed, all-time high close as well. But similar candle, similar volume. We'll be looking at a little bit downside, sideways action. Next is no. Big disappointment in snow today. This upper wick was giving me a bit of a red flag feeling, but decided to swing into it today, and thank God early in the morning took some profits off on those February 19 calls. Way early in the morning, on the first thing in the morning, then we dropped huge. From there, the loss of this trend line is the red flag. And we can see lack of bull volume continue to going down. From here, we got to pay attention to that 30-minute 8. We are grinding down from the 30-minute 8 on decent bear volume. Unless, well, we did hold the key support of 303. Unless we start trading over this 30-minute 8, overall is looking a little bit more bearish now. All right, next, DKNG. Now this is a perfect bull flag. We are wicking from the upper part of the potential channel and almost touched that 88. 4-hour 8 is your guide. If you're in bull position, you do not want to lose the 4-hour 8. Chart is looking strong still. On the next leg up, this should be ready to pop tomorrow. If you look at the space between the 4-hour 8 that we've been holding to the upper trend line, there's not much more that you can go on with. So unless we're doing like inside bar, which is very unlikely because we already saw our first inside bar, from there would anticipate a breakout tomorrow. Of course, given the market is good, there is a lack of bear volume. Like in the chart, we'll be looking for entry. Already have them hold up. We'll be looking for entry tomorrow. Next, Wayfair. Now this is one chart that we have not looked at in a long time. Or my video, at least my videos haven't covered it before. This was an amazing play since pandemic time, up until August last year. Then we went into a long-term monthly bull flag setup, but never lost that monthly 8. So very notable, never lost that monthly 8. This is, I consider this a perfect bull setup. From there, the chart tried to run before it was ready, and thus the huge upper wick. And now we are finally over it. Volume so far not convincing. It's a third of the month over already, but we are not seeing a third of the volume. So far on the monthly volume is not really convincing, but on the weekly, you zoom in, look at the weekly, looks like it's ready to go. Big pop, big upper wick from the all-time highs. Yeah, from the all-time highs, and held the weekly 8. Love this. And decreasing bear volume so far, however, potentially lacking some bull volume. As long as this weekly 8 holds, I will be in the trade. Daily, nothing significant. Yeah, doing this as a long play. Next, SNDL. Congrats, SNDL bulls. For those of you that have stuck with this trade, this was a bit frustrating at the beginning. So we entered around here 110, 120, no, 115-ish, I think. Then we saw a break of this trend line followed by a break of this wedge. But if you looked at it, there was no bear volume, and we held that key 1.1. Went sideways for quite some time. This trade took, I think we entered on, I can't remember which candle, one of these two. So last Thursday, this trade took a week, and we went sideways. My stop was just under that 110, the key to hold. I think I had it at 108. I was actually very surprised that it never triggered, because usually on this kind of trade, market makers or the big whales, they'll try to fish you stop hunt you. So very surprised it didn't trigger. Strong support, no sellers. Then from there we started seeing a huge bounce. Exited the trade this morning at 110% for 1 week. 5 trading days, 110%. Exited around just above this previous resistance line, 240. So I think it was 245. I want to say 244, 245. Then from there, pulled back. Didn't bother looking back at it. Was thinking potential gap fill, but chart is strong. It just kept going, increasing bull volume. If you are in the trade, use the 30-minute 8 as your guide. We can see wick. Actually, ever since the beginning of the move, wick, 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 triple support. 30-minute 8 is your guide. Amazing trade. Congrats on those who followed. Next, QS. Oh, I was thinking something else. Okay, QS. This trade, as mentioned, will take time to work out, but there is plenty of upsides for this trade to be worth it, for this weight to be worth it. If you are playing options, just make sure you don't play near-term options. Obviously, the chart is not ready to go yet. We just keep hovering around this key zone. I gotta draw the zone again, but I'm having trouble with the mouse and the keyboard right now. We'll draw it later. But daily, we want to see a hold of yesterday's low at 43.41. Do not want to see a lower low. That would make this a lower high. We want to make this a higher low instead. So 43.41 must hold. All right, next is BNGO. What a nice bull flag. Not losing that daily 8. Tomorrow is crucial. You do not want to lose and close under the daily 8. We can see lack of bear volume. This chart is nice setup for a next leg up. Weekly could drag out for quite some time, but on a shorter time frame, that is an extremely nice hold on the daily 8. If we do lose the daily 8, you potentially want to be exiting on the short term. Wait for a couple weeks for this bull flag to play out. If you do exit based on the loss of daily 8, watch the weekly 8 for re-entry. But bear volume, not significant. Nothing is raising any red flags on this name. Chart is still strong. Next, BBBY. Wow, nice follow through. What did we say yesterday? Held that key support zone. We can see wick from near the low, got bought up, and from there made a higher low and started seeing volume come in. So today is confirmation. This chart has more upside than downside now. From here, the targets that we are looking at, and this could be a very good trade. First target, 35.78.79 into GP. Not very much a clear resistance support, but we are trading over that 88. So on the short term, use that 30-minute 8 as your guide. We can see clear support even with the end of day. This is interesting. End of day, huge lower wick to close above that 30-minute 8. So there is still noticeable bear volume, but 30-minute 8 is your guide. I just want to check something. GME, is the chart similar? Because okay, no, it's not similar. I was a little bit worried that BBBY is becoming a Wall Street bet stock, but doesn't look like it. So all good. Next, workhorse. On the daily, still strong, holding that 88. Big upper wick forming today. Today was a little bit weaker than previous days, but okay, lost that 4-hour 8, lost the trend line. It's starting to look weak. If you're in the trade, the must hold zone is this GP, the previous GP hold at the low of 37.15. Next, lemonade. Still weak. Potential breakout fake out. On the 4-hour, no significant bear volume. This was a nice hold comparing to the market action, market price action today. So this is actually considered a nice candle on the 4-hour. On the daily, back tested the daily 8. Tomorrow, you want to see a follow through. You do not want to break back into this channel, because if you do, this triple hold on this support could very well have high potential of being broken under now. Next, PLTR. Bounce from the daily 8. No significant volume. Alright, so resistance from here, and looking down at the trend line still, we'll have to see where the higher low comes in. This is just temporary trend line, but support zone is right here. And the next ticker, sorry, lost track of where we are. All right, next ticker, space. Looking bearish now. Daily, so lost at 88 slightly on notable bear volume comparing to the last 2 days bull volume. From here, if we were to have a pullback, where will we be looking at? This could be a very significant pullback. Okay, somehow my shift button is not working. Let's try a different one. Ah, there we go. All right, 1 to 2 extension targets have been hit. From here, if we're looking back to pullback, this previous all-time high makes complete sense. The 42.50 lines up with the 0.5, lines up with this pre-increasing momentum trend line. So we'll be looking at right here, triple confluence for a bounce. If we see that follow through on bear action tomorrow, this will be your ideal entry, 42.50. I like the chart. Let's make a note of it. $42.50 price target. Next, BABA. Looking decent, looking somewhat strong. Held that trend line today. Okay, no, got close to that trend line today, but held the support zone. From there, RD8 is your guide. You do not want to be losing the RD8 as we are now having a stall in this clear resistance zone. This is our new zone to break. The high of 270. All right, next one, BIDU. Lost the RD8 for the first time since January 29th. So notable bear volume as well. We'll be looking at a pullback from here. This has been a great run. Had you been in the play, straight run from 230, never lost that RD8. Ever so slightly once back there. From 230 all the way up to 322. This was a great run. 40% move in 63 hours. Let's see. 40% move in 9 trading days. This has been a great run. So from here, GP makes sense. We'll be lining up with previous high as well as a low of the support zone. Triple confluence. Again, that would be an ideal entry. A low. Yep, notable resistance support zone. You'd be looking at around 262 to 265 for that ideal entry. Right, next, last but not least, again, BA. Still grinding along that 88. Chart is relatively strong, relatively only, because we are seeing some decent bear action, price action. Volume not really there. Bull volume is still clearly outweighing bear volume. So this could drag out a little bit longer, but would anticipate that we see a daily higher low before the pullback. Upon the formation of the daily higher low, it is a little bit concerning because we will be losing a daily 8 for sure. We're not extended far enough to be forming a higher low for a bull chart yet, but we are expecting a higher low to be, let's see where it's going to be, at the middle zone of this lower resistance support zone, around that 200 mark. It's going to be a little bit harder to find an entry on this one now, because ideally you want to see a bounce on the 0.382, which will bring you to around 207.70. Long-term consolidation, big bounce. Want to see a decent pullback for that ideal entry. This is definitely trend reversal now, because it is, we did make a higher high versus back here. All right, that's it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoy the content, and if you are looking to get out of debt or build that first pot of gold, make sure to hit the like and subscribe button in order to get updates on our new videos daily. Also, check out our website. Make sure to look into that free trial, 7-day free trial at totalcontroltraders.com. I hope you guys stay safe and be in control. Thanks for watching. I will see you guys in the next video.